I'm your hostess, Watermelon, the Weed Diva. And today's recipe, we're gonna make spinach puff pies. Yes, I love spinach puff pies because they're very versatile. You can use any greens at all. Today I'm using broccoli. I have parboiled some spinach and drained all the excess water off it already. I'm gonna use some fresh cut green onions, some fresh dill, feta cheese. You're gonna need a couple of eggs and some melted butter. And of course, you're gonna need your fabulous shake flour. So this recipe is going to make about 8 spinach pies, nice big ones. So they're almost a meal. And so for 8 spinach pies, I want to weigh up 4 grams of our fabulous shake flour. Now, if you're at home and you're using nug flour, remember to reduce the amount to 2 grams because it's much more potent. But I'm using the shake flour today, so we'll begin by weighing up 4 grams. Oh, a little over. Oh, a little under. Science, 4 grams. Okay, now if you've ever worked with phyllo pastry before, you know you melt some butter, and you take a brush and you butter each light phyllo pastry with some butter. So I thought I would put 1 of the grams of shake flour in the butter to brush the phyllo with, and the other 3 grams of shake flour I'm going to toss in a pan that's sauteing a little bit of butter on low. So it'll convert there, and then the cannabis that went into the butter and the phyllo will convert while it's in the oven as well. So we're going to get 2 conversions on this one. Okay, so we shall begin. Let's begin. I have some butter heating up in a pan. You can use olive oil. So you get your butter heating up in the pan and bring it over, and the first thing you want to do is pour your cannabis in there, the 3 grams. And you want to get that started to decarboxylate. And then we're just going to add everything into this pan. We're going to saute it all together. Let those, flavors fuse together. 1, 2, 3. You're going to leave your feta cheese and your eggs out of it. You're going to take this back to the stove, give it a good stir, and let it start sauteing. Right now, I am just sauteing up our greens. I'm getting them nice and soft. It's also going to draw the flavors out a little bit, and we're going to soften them up. Okay, that smells delicious. We're just going to let that saute on low and slow. We're going to let the broccoli soften a little bit, let those flavors fuse together. And I'm going to prepare a few things here. Today we're going to use 3 eggs. I have 4 here in case I need a 4th later. But you don't want too much liquid in this recipe or it starts to run in the phyllo puff pies. So that's why we parboiled the spinach and drained all the excess water off. So I'm going to use 3 eggs, and if we need some more, I'll add them later. Simply 1, 2, overshot, and 3. 3 lovely eggs. Okay. Okay, 3 eggs in a bowl. Give them a nice whisk. Good place to add a pinch of salt. I told you, all recipes need 1 little pinch of salt. And I'm just going to throw my feta cheese right in here. I have a little too much feta cheese here. I won't use it all. Mix your feta and your eggs. Okay, we're just going to make sure our feta cheese is crunched up a little smaller. I did grate it. Mix it in with your eggs. Okay. Now, I'm going to turn off the cooking spinach and broccoli, and I need it to cool down a little bit before I add it to my feta and egg mixture because I don't want my eggs to cook. So you can't put the hot spinach in there, it'll cook your eggs up. So let's turn it off. Give it a minute to cool down. The flavors have all fused together. The dill, the fresh dill. I'll say it one more time. Fresh dill. Oh, it's delicious. I'll let that there. Let it cool down. And while that's cooling down, let's start brushing some of our phyllo. So you get phyllo pastry. You can buy it at any store. It's usually in the frozen section. You buy it frozen. And then take it out the day before you want to use it so it thaws. Now it's usually rolled up with this plastic, and I cut it in half right in the plastic, so then it was easier to layer out. Now I said we have some melted butter, of course, and I'm going to put the shake in the melted butter. And I'm just going to mix it around, and that's going to give it a nice green hue. And then you simply begin by brushing the phyllo. And I find, in my experience, getting the edges is the most important part of the phyllo. If you don't get it all on the inside, it's not as important. But get your brush on those edges. Phyllo pastry is paper thin, so you need a couple of layers. If you don't chintz out on the butter, it makes a nice crispy, flaky taste. All right, so you've prepped a few of these while your spinach was cooling. Now we'll add it to our feta egg mixture. Can you see how beautiful that is? Oh. So we're going to mix this up. All right. So we have this thoroughly mixed, nice and mixed. And you need maybe, it's approximately like 2.5 tablespoons, 2 tablespoons. You're going to put it in the corner like this. Maybe a tiny bit more. I like to make them big. I like to make them hearty, so like 1 or 2 is a meal. The little ones I find is too much phyllo pastry, and there's always phyllo everywhere, so I make a bigger one. Now, this is the fun part. You're just going to roll it over like a triangle. I'll move this over so you can see better. I don't need you. And then fold it this way like a triangle. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. And here is my first spinach pie. Let's do it again. This one broke, but don't worry. Puff pastry forgives all. On the corner. You can use the butter like glue if you just need to like glue them down. I like to do that. And then we fold it over. This pastry got a tiny bit dry, that one, but that's okay. If you find there's some open spots, I just put my finger in the butter. And butter is the glue that binds humanity together. So don't be afraid of butter, okay? Second spinach pie. I'm actually going to brush that a little bit. Keep it moist. Let's do some more. Okay, everybody, we have 8 phyllo puff pies already. The last thing you want to do to our phyllo pies is just give them a little brush on the top with some butter. You just give them a light dusting of the delicious butter. So we've brushed our puff pies with butter, and I'm going to teach you a little trick I love to use. I take my ground shake and I put it in a pepper grinder. That's not pepper, that's ground shake. And then very simply, you can just dust the very tops of your pies, and if it sticks, hit the counter and go again. Yay! Puff pastry. Now, I have a preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to pop these in the oven for about 25 minutes. Bring them out, let them cool down for a second, and everything's going to get a lot more beautiful after that. Let's put them in the oven. So our puff pies have been in the oven for 25 minutes at 350 degrees. Let's see what happened. This happened. Those are beautiful golden brown puff pastries. I've got a nice tray to garnish them. You have to let them cool down a little bit before you serve them. They'll be very hot. All you got to do now is transfer them to a serving tray and let them cool down a tiny bit. Two. Oh man, these look good. I don't know about you guys, but my mom always told me I should eat my greens. You can take spinach puff pie, a regular kitchen dish, and turn yourself into a kitchen superhero. Spinach puff pie, away!